Hey, John here. This video I'm going to step you through a very detailed case study of one of my niche sites. This is not the biggest site, it's not the smallest site, it's a mid-sized site. It's really a great site for a case study because this is at a level that's fairly attainable for a lot of people who are getting started in this business. Not going to happen overnight. This site didn't get to where it's at overnight, but it's not, a site that's earning hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. That's years and years out for somebody else. This is something that's attainable fairly quickly inside anywhere from 1 to 3 years, and it's earning enough that it's a significant monthly revenue. As you can see, it's a little over $3,800 per month. That was the last 30 days. It was launched in June 2020, so 13 months ago. It was a freshly registered domain. It wasn't an aged domain, and the current value at the revenue right now is ballpark 150K. I mean, these things are really valuable, what somebody's willing to pay for it at the end of the day, but that's an approximate value. And the investment I've poured into this thing in the last 13 months is $70,000. So I haven't written really much of the content myself. The strategy's really been hiring writers and going that route, and it's worked out. But as you'll see when I really start breaking down some of the numbers about how the content is performing and the ROI, you'll see this is a mediocre success at best. And that's another reason it's a good site for a case study. It's not one of these 1 in a million sites that exploded and it was a super success and really hard to replicate. This is a mediocre, successful niche site, run-of-the-mill, nothing special. So I think it's a really great candidate for a case study. So in this video, I'm going to cover the revenue and traffic timeline, as well as key events, the traffic strategy, content sources, website structure, inbound linking strategy, and opportunities as I see them going forward, and what my plans are with the site. Sorry, I'm not going to tell you what the niche or the URL is. I really don't need more competition at this point with this site or with any of my sites. So quickly, the screenshots for the last 30 days of the revenue. As you can see, it's AdThrive up in the top right here. We've got Amazon and we've got Skim Links for a total of $3,879. So I think that's the highest amount it's earned in any 30-day period. So I'm pretty happy about that. It's nice when your most recent month of revenue is the highest because it means good things are happening. So the breakdown is AdThrive ads, 87%, Amazon 5%, Skim Links 8%. I could probably boost the affiliate stuff, I put a little effort in that, but I really, most of the content is really informational at the end of the day, and so I really think that the long-term key or main monetization strategy is going to be the AdThrive ads. That's essentially what I use mostly for monetization across my portfolio. It works well. I like it. I see no reason to change that strategy. So here is the AdThrive revenue trajectory since launch. Because I had a large site with them, they did let me get the site on with fairly low traffic in the beginning. You can see the growth in revenue. The revenue is green. The blue line are page views, and I couldn't filter that out with AdThrive. I love AdThrive. Pretty much I have zero complaints with them except for their reporting. The reporting's not great. You can't do a lot of filtering and so forth. So you get these messy charts. But the green is the revenue. You can see it's gone up quite nicely over the 13 months. I don't expect it to grow like this over the next 12 months. It would be awesome if it did because this is a fairly steep revenue growth chart. So it's probably going to level off. So right now it's at around between 120 and 140 per day. Traffic in the last 30 days, it's pretty much probably the highest it's ever been. And you can see it's about 168,000 users or visitors in the last 30 days, which is pretty good. But as you'll see when we start crunching the numbers, the revenue and the revenue per million words for this site is mediocre at best. It's not great. It could be better. It needs to be better. There's a lot of room for improvement with this site, which is great because room for improvement is an opportunity that with maybe not a whole lot of work, I could squeeze out a much better performance from it. Quickly, traffic by device and geo, in case you care about these things. Mobile, 66%. Actually, I never checked this stuff. I was surprised mobile is really high on this site. Desktop's lower, and tablet is usually pretty small no matter what. The geo, no big surprise there. I mean, I intend that it would be United States. I'm glad at least the United States is the main traffic source. 41%'s maybe kind of lowish for traffic from the United States. I suspect this explains why it's not earning as much as on a per thousand visitor basis as my other sites. It tends to be getting a good chunk of traffic from India and Philippines and other countries that just don't quite pay enough. So that may answer that question. Same with the mobile. I have other sites it's more like 50-50, and so mobile pays less. So I think with these two pieces of data, it helps explains why the earnings per 1,000 visitors is not as good as some of my other sites and a lot of colleagues that I know. So these are actually kind of good stats to check once in a while if you're wondering why your earnings per 1,000 visitors is just not as high as you had hoped. Okay, so we'll spend a little time here. This is a traffic and main events timeline. So as you can see over on the left, this is a Google Analytics traffic chart for all traffic sources, although the lion's share is Google search. I do a little bit of Pinterest with this site, but that's about it. You can see it was freshly registered back in June 2020. It's also when I started adding content. Now, I want to caveat everything I'm saying about this video. The site had one big advantage when I launched it, and that was, you see the second point here. In June 2020, I seeded this website with 79 articles from another site that I broke up that happened to be multiple niches. That strategy wasn't working so hot. So I took about 79 articles from there, all basically in the first week, and I just blasted them on here, and then I did 301 redirects from the other site, and there was traffic to these 79 articles. Not tons and tons, but as you can see here, we're getting some traffic here right out of the gates. This would be very, very highly unusual that you would see, like this is June, probably right around here, that traffic would go like this so quickly for a freshly registered domain. That doesn't happen. I've launched tons of sites. That doesn't happen. The only reason it happened is because of this, and it was redirected from another site with the traffic. So that was a big advantage, and that has sped up the growth of this site considerably. I'm not sure it was more of an accidental occurrence in that I broke up this particular website with multiple niches and created multiple niche sites out of it. That was never the intent initially long ago. It's just that's what I did. I'm not sure it's a strategy I would intentionally do. Maybe I should, but this is just how things worked out. So this site definitely had a big advantage. So if you're not getting the 6,679 visitors per day after 13 months with the same amount of content, that is going to explain why this site does have that advantage. So come November, which was about 6 months in, I went through and I identified 25 articles that were performing quite well, and they were of a topic that would really serve as good cornerstone or pillar articles within the site for a number of the subtopics it covers. And so I actually hired an in-house writer, and she's gone through, and I did some of them myself, and went through and we really rewrote these. These are some of these, or most of these were some of those that I brought in, I merged from the other site, and they were done probably a year before that at least, and they were okay, but there was room for improvement. So we really rewrote these suckers because they were getting some good traction, and I could see them as really being pivotal in the entire site and the structure. So these are really good articles right now. We put a ton of time. I think the writer I hired, who's a very good writer, operates very, very well and knows this niche very well, she put about a week in. Now, I won't say for each, but she definitely put in several days for each of those articles. Now, I did a handful of these as well, so we kind of split that up. And we did this for several months. And these are really starting to pay off right now. They're starting to get excellent results. So we started that in November. We were doing this right up until, I would say, middle or end of June. Then in Jan 2021, I merged content, about 50 plus articles from another niche site I had. It was a niche site that just wasn't really working out. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with it, and the content on there was actually a really good fit with this site. So I figured the best thing to do was to put more resources into this site because it was working pretty well. You can see here right around the January mark, the traffic growth was reasonably good. It was definitely good for being under 12 months, and so I could see that had potential. I was sort of getting into the groove with this site. Things were working pretty well. So I decided, rather than have two separate sites, I pulled all that content in here. Now, that content and that site didn't have a whole lot of traffic, and we did do redirects. But as you can see, if it had a lot of traffic, those redirects would have resulted in another spike at this point. But it didn't really happen because it didn't have a whole lot of content. But I believe, sometimes I wonder if this was a bad move. I don't know. I like to think, and I don't really have a choice, but I like to think I made the right decision. I don't know. Who knows whether it was, because I didn't really get a traffic bump that I'd hoping for, but I'm sure it's helped the site in some respect. Then in March 2021, I started experimenting with some outreach. I'm going to do a whole separate video on that shortly, in a few days, maybe a week or so. And as you can see here, March is right here. Okay, this was when I was doing some Core Web Vitals work. I was doing tons of Core Web Vitals work in, March and April. And so I had some analytics mishaps there, so that explains that there. That was in preparation for the June update with Google, which then they pushed back to July. But anyways, lots of Core Web Vital work there, and so it's some mishaps. And so I started with outreach because I have some really cool articles on this website, and I have some cool link bait, and I wanted to do some outreach and see if we could start getting more inbound links from other domains, from good sites, and see what would happen. So we started doing that. Now I did that. I started in March, and I started doing the outreach and the most proactive link building I've done on a niche site for a long, long time, and I did that right up until July. Okay, so I'd like to think that, as you can see here, this is where the site's really starting to take off nicely. Now, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what's going to happen over here. It might end up here. It might end up there. I don't know. Chances are, I hope, it just kind of just keeps going up. So things are working for the site. I don't really know what to attribute this to. Was it a lot of the rewrites I've been doing it? Is it all the content that I've been adding all this time? Because I've kept the new content volume pretty consistent over the months, anywhere from between 20 and 40 articles. Or was it all this outreach here? I suspect that I know these articles are performing quite well, and I have a really good hunch that this has been helping out everything, because this outreach is working and getting a good number of inbound links. It's still a ton of work. I don't know if I'd do outreach and all this to build links for all my sites, but I wanted to give it a shot. So I'd like to think, I hope, because it's not cheap, that this is a result of that. And it's probably, in reality, like all things, it's some level of combination between the two. So content, I'm going to spend quite a bit of time on content, because really at the heart of it, this business and this site in particular, it's really a content site. I focus on evergreen content, a lot of obscure long tail keywords. That's a strategy I deploy across all my sites. So right now, in August 2021, it has a total of 582 published posts for a total words of 1,344,000, averaging about 2,300 per article. Okay, this is a bit skewed. If median would be a lot lower, and the reason I say that is because those 25 cornerstone articles that myself and the writer I hired to work on those did, some of them are 10, 12,000 words. They're really, really epic articles that I think are going to serve the site really well for a long time. So this is definitely going to skew the average quite a bit. And going forward, and right now, a lot of the more recent content that I've been going after is really obscure long tail keywords that, and they're shorter articles because they just really don't need a whole lot of content. And by shorter, I mean they're anywhere from 750 to 1,300 words, which is less than half of the average so far. So I've done a lot of the big heavy lifting cornerstone work on this site, and now we're really just blasting on a lot of long tail keyword type content. So the average is 44 posts per month, but that's definitely skewed upward because I seeded it with a big import, then I merged some. So realistically, this number is more like 20 to 40 articles per month. The average visitor number of visitors per article per month is 290. This is a bad number. This makes this site right here, this stat right here, this makes this site performing below average compared to my other sites in my portfolio, and below average from a lot of people I talk to. This is a number that a lot of people talk about in this business. It's discussed extensively in the Fat Stacks forum. And I could tell you, like, my other sites are between 300 and 350. I'm pretty happy. 350 is sort of like a really good number to hit, especially when you start getting lots and lots of content. You could have a site with 50 really high-performing articles, and if it's only the 50 articles, then obviously your average is going to be high. But once you start getting into 1,000, 2,000 articles on a site, your average is going to tend to go down. I mean, that's sort of how it's been. But I can tell you this is not great. Revenue per million words is $2,870 per month. This is not a good number either. Other sites that I've analyzed that I have, and talking to colleagues in this business who also look at this metric, which is a very interesting metric, by the way. It really gives you your ROI per your per word investment, which is quite good, because we often do pay for content on a per word basis. So you can break it down to this per million words or per 1,000 words. And I can tell you right now, I like to see this per year number more like in the 50, 60,000 range. So this is like a 2/3 performer. But that makes it a great case study site, because I still consider this site a success. I still consider the site definitely worth working on and holding on, building up, and I think it has a ton of potential. And so because it's not like a peak performing site, I think that helps people realize, hey, you don't have to do this stuff perfectly and still get pretty good results. So the last metric here is the revenue per 1,000 words is 287. I'm sort of more familiar. My brain sort of works more with this. I'm just saying I don't think this is great, but you know what? Definitely room for improvement. And which leads me to a conclusion about this. This site is only 13 months, and there's a lot of it only has 1.3 million words. I shouldn't say only. That's quite a bit of content, but it has 1.3 million words. A lot of the content's fairly new. Even the content that, I started publishing 10 months ago or 12 months ago, that's still fairly young content. They're not going to really get into their stride and hit the bigger keywords for a long time. And I have other site, a big niche site, and I've written about this lately in the Fat Sacks email newsletter. And it's 7.5 years old, and it's only in the last year or two has it really started really hitting hard and ranking for massive keywords. I'm talking like the seed keywords within the long tails, and that was never my intention years ago when I started publishing that content, but it's starting to work. And what that tells me is you can definitely build a site to a really nice income in the first few years, and this site's a great example of that. But if you really want to start ranking for those massive keywords, and when I say seed keywords, I'm talking, 15,000 searches a month, 100,000 searches a month, big numbers that you would typically not really intentionally go after. But if you publish enough content and you hang on to your site long enough and it grows and builds authority enough, you can start ranking for a few of those. And that's when your traffic's really going to explode. So that's pretty exciting. All right, so let's talk about my content strategy generally. All right, so I started with seed content on a variety of subtopics within the niche. That was a lot of that content was imported in from another site. I immediately started ordering more content, and I really put a big effort into the site, adding a lot of content and wanting to grow this quickly. And then what I did at the 6-month mark, which was at November or so 2020, is I identified the best performing topics, and some of those were what I've now turned into the more cornerstone topics or articles, and we invested a ton of time and money into rewriting those and making them better and true cornerstone pillar articles. And I think it's going to serve the site really, really well in the long run. And I linked from those to tons and tons of tightly related subordinate articles from those cornerstones. And then what I did is shifted to a high volume content publishing, shorter articles targeting very obscure keywords. Okay, so basically what I did is I was swinging for the fences with some of these big cornerstone articles. They actually do target fairly easy keywords. The traffic potential is good, but these articles were of a nature where they could become these like massive guides, these tomes, these really cool articles. So that's what we did. And then once those were done and I had identified the best performing, then I started investing into shorter, more obscure topics as subordinate or supporting to those cornerstones. And I'm still following that strategy right now. Pretty much 99% of the content that I'm ordering is short, and it covers really, really obscure long tail keywords, and they're related to one of those cornerstones, and I'm interlinking it. And that's really the strategy all I'm doing right now. And yes, it's going to be a ton of content, a lot of articles to really get that traffic up, but it is working. And I think just for the nature of the site, how I want the site to develop, that is the right content strategy for now. So an important point here is right here is the more I'm in this niche, the better the keywords I find. I find that it takes really working within a niche and then getting data and seeing what's working before you can really get a sense of the keywords that you should go after and how to start looking for better and better keywords. And so, it just takes time, and it takes doing it and running a site before you get this real sense of finding a lot of that real gold out there. You're not going to find that when you initially start a site. And I am also going to continue improving older content. I'm at the 13-month mark, so I have a lot of content on there that's now hitting 9, 10 plus months old, and I can see, how they're performing. I definitely have a lot of keywords and pages that are ranking, positions 4 to 15, so those are some great opportunities. And I continue to publish 20 to 40 articles per month. So the content sources and cost, basically I have an in-house writer who loves this topic, who knows a lot about it, and she does the high-level cornerstone best content for the site. And then for a lot of the shorter, more obscure stuff, I've been working with Writer Access. And I also am adding a lot of custom illustrations to this site. It's a niche that's really, really great for custom illustrations and interesting charts and all that. And I'm adding a lot of these to this site, and I use them. Not only do they provide a lot of really good information and enhance the content, but they serve really as link bait. Other sites will take them. They're always in the form of a JPEG or PNG, so they can take them, put them on their site, and then hopefully they will give me a source link. So this is an interesting page here because this is an Hrefs, and this is how I'm looking for opportunities to improve content. And so what I do is I go into the top pages and the organic keywords feature for the site. You can find that in the side here. You can do the organic keywords or the top pages. I tend to do both. They are kind of different. I like the top pages more because that actually lists out the actual pages or the posts that I need to go in and improve. Whereas organic keywords, you could have like 6 keywords that would be listed and filtered here, but they're all for the same page. So I just find that this is a little more efficient for me to identify those posts and articles that need updating. So what I do is I filter for position 4 to 15 and then a search volume of 500 to whatever, just 000. And what that does is that's going to list out all the pages of articles that are ranking in positions 14 to 15 on Google, and those keywords will have some volume of 500 plus searches per month. And in this case, for this site, in August 2021, 100 results came up. That's not bad. That gives me 100 articles that could use some good updating. So why this filter? Why this position 4 to 15? It's because if you get an article ranking in this range here, and it has a decent search volume, so presumably it's a half-decent keyword, what this means is Google likes your article, and that means the article has promise. It's just not quite good enough to get into those coveted positions 1 to 3. Positions 1 to 3 is where you're going to scoop up most of the traffic. You're not getting a whole lot of traffic in these, but it is a good opportunity. Now, I've kind of dabbled with this strategy for a long time, but I recently read a really, really cool Ask Me Anything forum thread by a guy named Mr. Media. I'm not going to divulge his name, but he wrote about this strategy as one he used to help grow a site to a 7-figure exit. And that just made really good sense for me. And he talked about that. He spent a great deal of time improving older content, filtering it for like this. So basically, he would look for content that's 12 plus months old so that it's at least had a chance to rank. Once it's that old on the site, any articles ranking here, or keywords I should say, then he would go into those pages, update that content, and then maybe build some internal links to it, and then let it. And he said that it really helped increase his traffic, and it makes sense to me that it would. So these are the tools I do that. It's very quick and easy that I use to find this content that offers a great opportunity for more traffic. So that was the content strategy. So far, a mediocre success, I would say. So it's good enough to keep going with the site. Next, I want to get into the website structure. People often ask me questions about website structure. If you really care, I'm using the Astra Pro theme for this site. But please note, I do happen to change themes every few years, so that could change. But right now, it's Astra Pro. By structure, I mean I'm going to talk a little bit more broadly about the site. So it's a broad niche, but it's a niche, okay? It's not like, Huffington Post that covers all the topics under the sun. No, this is definitely a contained niche, all right? So I'm slowly tackling obscure topics for each of the more successful subtopics. I already mentioned that I identified those subtopics within the site, within the niche that are performing better, and I'm really going after those as much as I can, and that's my strategy going forward as well, is I'm really going to look for every sort of angle and topic and keyword I can within those successful subtopics or sub-niches on the site, and really try to build those out. And then what I do is I interlink the subtopic articles together with among themselves, as well as with the cornerstones that they are under, so to speak, structurally and topically. So here's a brief little outline I put together. So you got the home page. Now on the home page, I do create static home pages with Gutenberg, and I link to the cornerstones. Now this particular one has more than 3, but I just wanted to keep this simple. And then under the cornerstone will be your subordinate supporting articles. Now, just because I'm saying that they're subordinate or supporting doesn't mean that they're not geared toward getting traffic. Every article on this site generally is targeting a keyword, so I intend for it to get traffic. It's just that it's a subtopic to the larger, more general topic being the cornerstone. And for this particular site, all of my cornerstones are also chosen carefully in that there is some pretty good traffic for those articles as well. So what I do is all of the subordinates will always link back to the cornerstone. The cornerstone will link back to all of the subordinates. But I don't link every subordinate article with each other. Okay, so like I don't have article 1 linking to 2 and 3. I don't have article 2 to linking to 1 and 3. What I might have is just maybe article 1 interlinks back and forth with 2, and then 2 might link to 3, but 3 is not linked to 1, sort of thing. Okay, so and the reason for that is once you get 30, 40 subordinate articles that are, you know, within a cluster, so to speak, on a site, it gets too much if you're trying to link all 40 of them with each other. It's just not necessary. So I try to break it down even further and interlink the ones that are most tightly related. But they are all tied together to this. Okay, so that's the structure for the site. This is nothing new. This is not, you know, if you're brand new to this whole industry, this may be new to you, but anybody who's been around, I didn't invent this. I think charts like this have been coming out since the early 2000s probably, in terms of when you're talking about website structure and so forth. So this is nothing special. The only reason I show you it and tell you that is it's what I'm doing, and it's validating that, in my view, I think this is a workable structure for a site. So let's move next to inbound linking strategy. I've never been a big link builder, at least for the last number of years. I used to way back in the day, back when link building, you know, you could build any site on linking you wanted and get traffic, and Google put the kibosh on that. So now I really do focus on the content, but you know, here and there I will do some more proactive link building. And so it all starts with the epic content, and I'm not kidding when I say that this site is epic content. You know, I think that word is probably overused, but I hire a person specifically to write for this site, and we're talking 10, 12, 14,000 word guides on various topics, and it's not fluff. It's highly researched, well referenced. This is really good stuff. Lots of images and supporting graphics. This is content we've gone all out on. So that is the foundation of the site. Those are the cornerstones. Okay, so within a lot of the content are the link bait visuals that I've already talked about. I have someone, a graphic designer who I've hired, who's worked with me for years, and he's really great, and he does this for my sites. Okay, so here's where I'm doing some of the link building. It's outreach. Recently, Google said outreach is a perfectly legitimate strategy to build links. They consider them natural links, and I was pleased to read that. Of course, they said you can cross the line when you start offering money or any sort of quid pro quo for links, which I don't. It's just straight up, it's an outreach. And so I started doing that for some of my better articles, and it's been working. I can't say, of course, that all of these, you know, almost 2,000 inbound referring domains is a result of outreach. That's nonsense. That's not true at all. But I do know, because I'm only doing outreach for a handful of the articles, and I can look at them in Ahrefs, that they are working because there are links to those articles. I'm going to do a separate video on this just because I've never really talked about link building because I've just never really done it, and this is one of the first experiments I've run in a long time that I can actually mention and show data and let you know how it's working. Okay, I can tell you this, it's not cheap. Now you can do it yourself, of course, but that's a lot of work. So I actually am working with someone who's helping me out with that. Okay, lastly, opportunities with the site. You know, I already mentioned I could probably increase the revenue with a little bit more diligent work on the affiliate side, in inserting better placed affiliate links and working on conversion. I'm not sure how much that would increase it, whether it even be worth the time. Definitely a great opportunity for improving the older content. You know, I got right now in Ahrefs, if I filter for those position 4 to 15, I've got 100 articles with going after keywords with 500 plus searches per month. Those are gold. Those are some really great opportunities right now. So I'm going to get to work on starting to update and improve some of that content. And then basically really the best opportunity right now is a rinse and repeat. How this site is set up, a lot of the really good foundational content I publish on the site, it's working. And I see no reason that, just keep doing what I'm doing, going after those topics that I've identified that are succeeding. Just keep at it and see, and really reassess in 6 months to 12 months to see where it goes. The big question here is sell or keep. My initial goal for the site was to sell at a 200 to 300 per day mark when it reached that. Now it's not there, so I'm not going to sell, but I'm not really sure now what I would do because I'm really pleased with the site and I'm sort of getting into a groove with the site in terms of the keyword research, the direction, the structure. Everything seems to be coming together and it's done so fairly quickly. Some of the metrics are pretty poor, like the revenue per million words is not great. The average number of visitors per article per month is not really that great. So there's room for improvement, but I'd say overall this site is on the fence right now as a long-term keeper. So, but of course, when I actually do hit these numbers, then I'll reassess. I might hit 300 and be like, okay, that puts the site at a pretty nice valuation for a sale. I might just decide to sell. I don't know. But anyways, I also have a great writer who's working on the site and has been for some time and does an amazing job. She just totally gets the niche and she gets how I like my articles done. She just gets everything. We've got a really good working relationship. So it's hard to find people like that for sites and it makes it really easy to run and grow and I don't really have to worry about the quality of the content because she does a great job. That's a wrap on this case study. I hope you found it helpful. If you have questions, just jot them down in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. Also, if you want to learn more, you can check out fatsacksblog.com. I got a free course there that goes into more detail about basically building an online publishing business. Thanks for listening.